You guys, welcome back to the Homegrown podcast. Joey and I have an exciting announcement to share with you today. We got some big news coming out. Before we dive in, I want to thank today's podcast sponsors. Ancestral supplements have been utilized in our home in a number of ways. For example, Joey made a raw goat milk and protein powder shake this morning after his run, and it fueled him all day long. We have been loving their products because their purity and their quality is unmatched, but they also have such a wide variety that can fill in so many different things. I am currently taking and loving digestive enzymes, a beef liver supplement, a tallow supplement. Yes, you heard that right. Beef tallow in a capsule. And Joey's taking a whole host of other things as well. Ancestral Supplements has third-party lab testing, so they are ensuring that their products are the highest quality and the safest for you and your family. And they have a 60-day money back guarantee, which means that there's really no risk in trying it. I get DMs weekly from people saying, I tried the protein powder, I'm on the Fem Enhancement, I have started the colostrum or the collagen, and I'm loving it. You guys can use the code Homegrown at checkout to save 15% off your order over at ancestralsupplements.com. And you can browse their product page at ancestralsupplements.com/homegrown. Hazelmeyer Goods is also the shop that we created because we had so many people asking us, what coffee are you drinking? What is this large dish soap that you're utilizing? Where did you get this horsehair dish brush manufactured in Germany? we had so many things that we were utilizing in our home that people were asking for and asking links to, that there was no real good place to put it all in one. So we put together a list of our vendors and we found people to create product for us. We have co-created many amazing things like our sourdough proofing baskets and a lot of cool stuff on there, and a totally custom bread box, which we don't even talk about enough. I think we have a few left, actually. You can go over to shoptheh.com to see our full list of home goods. Amazing specialty coffee, organic fair trade teas, like I said, lard dish soap. We have body soaps. We've got a tallow balm. We have a natural sea sponge. We have amazing plastic-free dish brushes made with wood and horsehair, and a number of other products as well. Go over to shoptheh.com and use the code Homegrown for 10% off your order. And with that, we will dive into today's announcement and episode. Welcome to the Homegrown Podcast. I'm your host, Liz Hazelmeyer, along with my husband, Joey.
Good afternoon.
And together we hope to educate, inspire, and equip you in your pursuit of true nourishment. Today, we are making an announcement. That was so dramatic.
You should just let it linger. So you phone in. What do you think it is?
You guys, things are changing around here, and this entire episode is designed to tell you what is changing and why. And there's going to be a big shift in the podcast going forward.
Joey was fired.
Joey is no longer co-host. No, I'm just kidding. Quite the opposite. No. In all seriousness, you guys, the Homegrown Podcast has been running for over 170 episodes. We have been in your ears every single Wednesday for over 3 years. We have been so humbled by this experience. We started out just sitting around a dingy table in the middle of our basement while our kids were asleep, up at 5 a.m, recording conversations about raw milk. That's really how this show started. It was just me and Joey. We wanted a place to talk about some of the things we were sharing on Instagram, but in a longer format. And we bought some mics, honestly, for a completely different cause. And then we ended up using them. And 3 years later, the Homegrown Podcast is still going. And it's been amazing. The guests we've had on, the conversations we've had, the community that we've built. You guys are amazing, and we don't take that lightly. And that is why we are dedicating an entire episode this week to explain some of the things that we're feeling as hosts and as stewards of this community, and then lead you into some insight as to what you can expect from us in the future.
Quick milestones. We are, again, kind of speaking of that humbled part. I know for me, when we set out to do the Homegrown podcast, I'll never forget, because there's very, very non-specific, give me a better term for that, but data that you get around the performance of your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't really know what's going on until you do, I guess. Anyways, here's the data that we had. You understand downloads, right? How many people have downloaded or pressed play on your podcast? And when we first kicked it off, I remember being like, man, what if we got like 100 downloads?
Mm-hmm.
It was like a huge goal for us. The idea of my really tinny, annoying, rambling voice being in 100 people's ear was like, I couldn't imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, and we've had months of close to 70,000 downloads. We've done about a couple million all year to date,
Mm-hmm.
or all time. And I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's unbelievable how much a topic like real food and our journey kind of pursuing that, how much that's resonated with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And I love that the Lord has almost gifted us with an opportunity to kind of spread that information. And that's all we want to do. And our effort is to do the best we can with the information that we have. And one of the ways we've done that is by being on our journey. Any other milestones that you're aware of before we move on to kind of like, I'd love to share kind of just like what the journey of hosting the podcast has been like.
Well, we started out, and full intention was just me and Joey having conversations, sharing what works in our home, what we're learning, what we're reading. And that was amazing. And then we brought on our first couple guests. And I remember thinking like, wow, maybe we'll do like a guest every month or something. And then it turned into, we were doing podcast interviews and we were batching content 6 weeks, 8 weeks ahead of time and having these stellar conversations. And as with any kind of media, there's been highs and lows. There's been hard months. There's been great months. There's been, how are we going to afford this? Is this something that we can keep going? Like, because there are costs involved with any show, but you pay for like your streaming platform and your manager, if you have one, and your equipment. And we like to ship a mic around to our guests. And so there's been a lot of moments where, while it is just like me and Joey in our basement sometimes with our kids upstairs, this is something that we've poured our hearts into, and we show up every single week. I mean, even when we had our fourth baby, I made sure that we could show up every week in a meaningful way. And we've tried different series. We did the Real Food Journey series. We did the Man series. We've done a Back to Basics series. We've had, like I said, incredible guests, people who have gone on to do Joe Rogan and other huge podcasts. And we've just been blown away by the energy around the initial point of the show, which was, if you guys remember our very original intro, the place where we share the truth about food and farming from our kitchen to yours. That's what we used to say in the intro, food and farming and the truth about it. Again, we launched this thing in like 2022. So this is a time where if you mention raw milk online, like it's still pretty fringe. Yes, there's enough people rallying behind it, but you'll still get a lot of concern like in the comments. I remember there was a really like, his whole thing is like sharing people who are like kind of quacky, and he like pulled my page up, of course, and like did this whole thing about this like this little mom who thinks she knows what she's talking about because she promotes raw milk. And that was just one of those moments where I was like, okay, man, we're still like battling hard. Like we are still in defense of everything that we believe has been so meaningful to our family. It is not yet flipping over into more of an accepted thing.
We were also just learning so much.
Yeah.
It was a season of our life where the podcast has been an unbelievable data source for you and I and our family. And it's almost like sitting in a college class for a couple hours every week
Mm-hmm.
on real food and farming and health and nutrition and, fill in the blank here, right? Of the crazy like PhDs and doctors and authors and people that we've gotten to talk to.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, how many times have you and I left the studio and been like, I just had no idea about that. And it wasn't even all just learning, factual information. I remember the Kellogg's episode we did with James Connolly. I mean, you and I were like laughing and like in awe over that for weeks. We were like, should we even post this show,
If you haven't heard that episode, it was our first explicit episode.
It was. And oh my gosh, maybe that'll be one that we hit on the rewind series.
Like I'll never forget it because we had no idea what we were doing. And this guy starts just flying off the handle. And we were just like, well, what? I just remember I was like looking at it like, it is what it is.
Oh,
I don't know what to do.
I loved the whole conversation. I love James to this
so
day.
Fun.
He's amazing.
Oh no, so fun. Loved it.
So yeah. So again, when we launched the show, the Homegrown podcast, very much a branch of homegrown education online, the resources that we created for kids and adults and families. And it was very much, I would say, like the pinnacle of our emphasis on our own like real food journey. We were just eating and sleeping and breathing all things that were a part of those early episodes, I would say. And so as this show has gone on over the last 3 years, we've really added in different like through lines and topics. So you've heard us talk a little bit more about like broader philosophies. We've talked about parenting. We've talked a little bit about even more like fringe topics like Joey's hunting experience or what doing 75 hard looks like. We've woven in fitness into that, and we have just expanded the topics that we've covered on the show, the guests we've had on the show. We've been able to share amazing stories. And so that brings us to this very critical moment now where you also see a huge shift happening outside of our show. So I think one of the coolest things I've been able to witness is going from and I wasn't even an early voice in this. Honestly, I'm a very new voice compared to a lot of the OGs, but being in this space since about 2020, it's been cool to see a number of other prominent voices rise up and have an even more powerful platform than ours. And they've really taken the conversation mainstream. And that's what Joey and I are really feeling right now as hosts of the Homegrown podcast. We see a lot of this conversation reaching a new level, and we are nothing but thrilled and excited over that. Like there's no part of us that wishes that less people knew the truth about raw milk so that we can be in your earbuds talking about it. No, I am like, hallelujah. There was just I think it was Paul Saladino was just sharing a video of them doing raw milk shots in the White House. So I was like, okay, this has come almost like full circle. We have reached a point in time where through the Make America Healthy movement and RFK Jr. and all of the stuff that's going on there, we're having conversations in some of the most important rooms, which is amazing. And we're not saying all of that is like perfect and beneficial. I'm sure there's a lot to parse through there. But the point is the original topics that we were kind of like covering and taking everyone with us on, those are now less it's easier to find information on them. It's less of a need for us to do an entire show on raw milk because there's such support behind it. And the other part of this is that where Joey and I feel just in our life stage wise, we've just welcomed our fourth child. Joey is in a season of his life where he is pursuing some pretty big dreams and goals that he has. We are, a young family, but we also are experiencing some of the pains of, maybe a little bit older, we have older kids and
define young family.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know.
I think you just want to be young.
I just want to be, I'm in my 20s. No, I'm not. we're about to celebrate our 10-year anniversary and we've got a teenager in the house. And I don't know, there's a lot of our current life that is drawing us into this new phrase you guys have heard us say over and over, this new kind of calling. And
It's the next part of our journey.
It's the next
and
part
that's what
of
this
our journey.
podcast is. And so before people get too freaked out, there's so much of this that we've already been doing. And so like the first and foremost, one, we're not going anywhere. So in case you were like listening to this on the edge of your seat and worried, if you're one of the few people that are worried that we were going to shut the podcast down, we're not doing that. We are, if anything, we are looking to double down on the podcast and improve it dramatically. Right. So we want to improve production. We want to move primarily to like in-person interviews. We want to update and improve our video content and video quality. But the content itself, like what topics we'll be talking about, isn't going to change like a tremendous amount. It's going to be very similar to what we're dealing with now, but it's going to be in line with the journey that you and I are on. And so, when we were learning about regenerative farming, that was you and I learning about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying we have nothing else to learn. I'm saying that after a while, we were like, man, not that we were sick of talking to regenerative farmers, but we had talked to quite a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we know a number of them personally. And, we want to schedule visits to go on the farm and like meet and be with those people. And we're thankful and blessed to have those kinds of opportunities. But we are in a season of life, like you said, that is demanding different things out of us. And not that we have nothing to learn about our nutrition and our health and wellness, because we do, but the way that we are approaching it, it just looks a little bit different. And we want to share that with people.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, so some of the ways that we're approaching it is through this wildly capable lens, right? We are writing a story. Elizabeth and I are writing a story that we can't wait to share with our kids when they're older and our grandkids. It's a legacy. It's man, did we do that epic thing or did we not do that epic thing?
Mm-hmm.
Did we waste these moments of these years of this time, or did we spend a little bit of extra effort and energy to do those crazy things? And you know what? We believe that the extra effort and work is worth it. And that sitting around and being comfortable is not really for us. And this idea of wildly capable is started with our children. It was, man, what do I really want for them? Right? It's like, what do I want for my kids? Well, I want them to be more, so funny. I'm such a competitive person. Isn't it funny to be competitive? And once you have children, if you're super competitive, there are only like the people you want to beat you are limited to the children that you have. It's true. It's like, man, I look forward to the day where I go out on a run with one of my kids and I just can't keep up.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to the day that I'm, looking up, on stage and one of my kids is up there and it's just like, man, they've done more with their life than I could ever dream of.
Yes. I
look forward to the day where my kids are just academically or they've intellectually gone to a place in life that I couldn't have dreamed of. They've learned things. They've spent the time. They've put in the effort. They've like opened the books and they've researched the topic and they've experimented and tried something and then pivoted it's like they've done the work. I look forward to that. I look forward to, looking up to my kids in some capacity. I look forward to that. Like competitively, I want them to beat me. Right. And so when you and I have defined that, we came up with this term of like, man, we just want them to be like wildly capable. And we say that, like vaguely, right? Because what does wildly capable mean? Well, everybody's definition of that's going to look a little bit different.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
And so having a wildly capable family, man, there are areas and buckets in life that go beyond just food and farming. And so that's kind of the purpose of this episode, is to say, listen, we are on this journey in life and some of the things you can expect going forward are going to be in line with that, that mentality, this idea that you and I are chasing something, we're writing a story, and we're going to bring you all along with us. So just knowing that, the objective with a podcast and when you're creating content, when we first started, it looks really easy. Well, you just get onto a microphone and you talk, bing, bang, boom, people listen and you're rich. Well, okay, well, none of those things are true, especially the rich part. But creating content can be challenging, and it really, truly, for one, in my opinion and my experience, for it to sound, feel, and truly be authentic, meaning like we're not just blowing smoke to try to like get clicks or something. I don't know. It has to be a deep passion. It has to be rooted in passion. And the Homegrown podcast has always been rooted in passion for us.
Mm-hmm.
And the other day we kind of looked across the table at the coffee shop and we were just like, man, the podcast has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to have a ceremonial plant a flag in the ground moment where we say, we're moving on to the next phase and we want to do something about it. And that's what this episode is.
Mm-hmm.
This is we're moving on to the next phase of the Homegrown podcast. And it's driven by a unbelievably passionate ambition to have a wildly capable family. And that doesn't just mean health and fitness. It also means our spiritual health. It also means our social health. It also means our relationship, our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
If we're on here with a marriage counselor talking about marriage and there's no reference to raw milk, I just want to apologize in advance. That's where you and I are these days, right? And that's what we're passionate about. If we're talking about scripture or some form of spiritual health, or we're talking to, it's going to look different is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same way, like it's going to be similar. So anyways, I don't want to scare people off by saying everything's changing, because it's not. If anything, I'm putting words to what's already kind of been happening.
Yeah. And that's what we were really discussing in the last couple of weeks that we've been gearing up for this recording specifically. Obviously, we don't have anything scripted, you guys. Like we've been talking and praying about what this announcement would look like, as funny as that sounds, because yes, we want to be representative of what the future is going to look like and explain it so that no one's confused. But like a lot of our same convictions as people haven't changed.
Mm-hmm.
And something I have noticed, I just want to call it out really quickly so that no one feels like this is where we are personally, is, some people are feeling a little bit tired by some of the health and wellness or like the crunchy culture. And so they're maybe easing up on things or turning in a different direction. And so you see a lot of that content too. This is not a response to that. Like we still hold all of our same kind of convictions around food and farming. It's just that we're adding in other
100%.
layers. We're folding in more content. So I like to see, like, if you look at kind of like what the pillars are holding up a building, it's like we've been laser focused on one of those pillars this whole time. And we're kind of like stepping back to like see the whole building and like what the rest of the building is also being propped up by. And a lot of that for us is just other things that fall outside of that category. So we're super excited. We're even excited to like have on people that we've already had on the show, but like do the interview through a new lens. And, the other piece of this too is that podcasting as a whole media has changed. I mean, when we first started, we were only putting our audio on all the different platforms. We weren't on YouTube. We weren't that to this day, it's like I never know, do I look at the camera, do I look at Joey? Because I'm like, if we recorded for so long without any video, and now it seems like, especially the way you and I like to consume podcasts, we like to watch them. And I wish we had some of the infrastructure to make that more possible earlier on. Like I wish we could have just been like meeting with guests in person from day one. That would be amazing. But we've really tried to steward this thing well, and we want to make moves that we can sustain. We don't want to like change everything up and then be like, oh, that was really expensive, we can't do that anymore. So that's kind of like the timing of everything. We have this has been a long time coming, and so we're super excited about it. The practical things, do you have anything to share before I get into like practically?
I just wanted to say that you kind of mentioned like we're not like abandoning our virtues around food.
No.
If anything, we're in a place in life where, and we encourage and we hope and we pray for so many people out there listening that they've also been on this journey with us, that they've made similar progress. I hope that in the last 6 months, there have been people that have been all along with us, or maybe even sooner than that, or like longer ago, like the last couple years, that there have been people that have been following along and having their own real food journey and listening to this podcast and following us on socials, that are also getting kind of bored of the content because they're like, yeah, we do all this.
Yeah.
I hope that's true, because
For sure.
we're not bored of the content. We're just, if Joe Rogan has XYZ person on and they talk about real food and the benefits of raw milk, or the benefits of fermenting, your vegetables, or the idea of following a protein first kind of diet, or that, none of that's, I'm not going to be like whipping out my notebook. Not that I'm not interested to hear it. And I might be interested. And we keep saying Joe Rogan. It could be Theo Vaughn's podcast. It could be the Jocko podcast. It could be basically every podcast out there that's like mega, right? Like these mega superstar podcasts that are just dominating the news and the media channels. This is becoming very normal for them. And so I just, I'm not like, my mind's not getting blown.
Yeah.
And so we're moving into that passion area while maintaining those virtues in our own life still. So, I woke up this morning, I had a, ancestral supplements fueled protein shake with raw goat milk.
Heck yeah.
And like, that was after my run. And then I went to work. It wasn't like it's not like I'm, you know what, that was a phase and I'm over it. This is not a phase. Real food for us, not a phase.
Yeah.
If anything, we kind of have gone into a new phase of just, this is who we are. And it's so normal for us now. I don't have like cravings for garbage food. I just don't. If anything, it's kind of a problem where it's like, man, if I'm like in an airport and I'm starving, I'm like, oh no, I'm looking for like, where can I find the cleanest package of beef jerky I can possibly find? And you know what I mean? It's funny how that works.
You know what I have a craving for is your homemade hollandaise that we eat with French fries.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And then you fry the store-bought fries, even like the good ones with olive oil, they're trash.
We're gonna have to do a full episode on. I've been thinking about this for like our new kind of, not the new format, but just some of the things that, like, what does it look like to be snacky? And what do the normal snacky kind of realities for us look like? Because it ain't like, well, I mean, it's not like I'm anti-potato chip, but man, we've got some serious banger recipe of like snacks that we get into. And those, like you just said, become kind of like our cravings.
The hollandaise. Oh, it's so good.
Matcha, dude, like I will low-key crave a matcha every now and then.
The guacamole though. Yeah. So anyways, gosh, what were we talking about? So practically, you're going to see new cover art. So it won't be the little photo of me anymore. The podcast will look different. It will have a different look to it. It will have a different intro to it. It will have a different guest interview format. It will have, of course, folded in new topic lines. But it'll still be the same channel. So if you're subscribed to the Homegrown podcast, you don't have to like go find another podcast to subscribe to. We will be right here. In the meantime, while we are getting those things done, while we are getting photos done, and we're revamping our studio, and we're buying new cameras, and there's like a lot of logistical things that, again, we don't have a team behind us to make this easier for us. So we need a little bit more of your grace and your patience. But while we're doing all of those things, we are going to be running like a rewind series, like I said earlier, where we're going to be, because the show's been around for 3 years. So if you've caught on the last 9 months, there's a lot of episodes you've never heard. So we're going to be rewinding some of those shows so that the next 6 weeks we have time to really dive into the new chapter of the Homegrown podcast, what that's going to look like, get some recordings, probably batch recorded, and again, figure out the logistics of how the new look and the feel is of the show. And we hope that you guys love it. And if you hate it, let us know. But everything that we're feeling in our hearts is telling us to lean into this new calling of living wildly capable, because it's just what's on our tongues like every day. Like the conversations Joey and I have every day are more in this like, what does it look like to live wildly capable, and less of like, hey, how's your sourdough starter coming along, you know? So and we're still doing all those things, but again, we're taking kind of it into the next chapter. So
I think, and even that, is a good example of things that I know that I have, as we've been workshopping what would new content look like. It may be a conversation of defining wildly capable in your home, right? And establishing guiding principles, things that guide your every decision. So having values and not like bringing some of these methodologies into your household so that you can start operating really effectively and efficiently as a family. And I've been saying it a lot, and I still believe it. And so I'm not saying it because it sounds good, because I have a hard time articulating it even myself, but I don't want parents, if you're parents, people that are single, married, whatever, anyone listening to this podcast in any family situation, to be playing defense in life, right? Not that having a bad defense isn't good, but I want people to take a proactive approach when a challenge presents itself. And it's so obviously evident, especially nowadays, how quickly people can find someone else to help fix their problem. And having guiding principles in life to help you, and then having the information, right? We want to be a source for that. Man, I'm dealing with XYZ challenge with my teenager, or I'm dealing with XYZ like, let's talk about technology and how we utilize that really well in the home. Let's talk about marriage communication. Let's talk about health and fitness. Let's talk about getting onto a workout protocol. I know that we'll probably get into your desire for a reshaping and weight loss postpartum. We'll probably get into the fact that I am toying around with the idea of running a 55-mile run in October. And it's crazy stuff that we're working on, and we're not sitting down and waiting for somebody else to help us do it. So anyhow, I'm super excited, and I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I hope you guys are excited. I do feel I think a healthy amount of nervousness. I think I just don't take this thing for granted. And many a time it's been like, what is the future of this podcast? And it's never a casual conversation for me and Joey. It's always very intentional and serious. And so we love doing this. We love podcasting. I've said for years that this podcast is my most favorite thing that I get to do. And I'm really excited for the new chapter. So
a couple of things that we crave that we are working on. So stay tuned for more information. But we crave, it's a weird thing to have a podcast that reaches anyone, whether it's 3 people, 300, 3,000, 30,000, 300,000, however many people it is. It's weird. And it's awesome. It's weird and it's awesome. It's weird when you bump into somebody in real life and they know you and the things that you talk about a lot. And you have this weird disparity where it's like, man, I wish I knew that person more. And it's strange. And so a craving that I know that we have, you and I, we share this, is to connect with our community more.
Yeah.
And we don't know exactly how we're going to do it yet. It'll probably look like some Instagram lives on a regular basis. It'll probably look like some Q&As that we have on a regular rhythm on the Substack. So it's our other podcast kind of content distribution channel where we will be taking questions from people and answering them about maybe it's previous episodes or just any thoughts that might come to your head, advice that you might want from things that if we've tried and failed before and maybe seen some success, happily would share it, but also just things that we've talked about that you want further clarification on. But anyhow, this idea of bringing this community closer together in some capacity really is interesting to me.
I want to go in person, you guys. I've wanted to like do a conference or something since day one. Do you remember that?
I do remember
I was
that.
calling out. I was getting bids. We almost did it, and we ended up actually pivoting and filming an episode of a TV show that we made up called Maker's Table instead. Do you remember this?
I do remember that.
Year one, Homegrown. So this isn't unlike us. We've always kind of just
we just get after things.
We've done things that we feel like we have a calling towards, or we're leaning into something that we feel like is going to be really awesome and really powerful. So we're excited for the future of the show. We're excited to do in-person stuff, get together with you guys, hang out regularly on Instagram Live. I just feel like that's going to be a fun time. We'll give you more details when we start doing those weekly lives. And until then, we hope you enjoy our sort of rewind series and be looking out for the sort of like release date of the revamped Homegrown podcast.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I love it. I got nothing else.
All right.
Friends, until next time, that's a wrap.